If history is anything to go by, this is very bad news for the UK housing market. So in front of me, we have the latest results from the latest RICS survey. Now, RICS is the Royal Institution of Chartered Surveyors, and as part of their monthly survey, they measure something called the house price balance. So let me very quickly read out what it is, and then we'll show you what data has been released this month. The house price balance measures the percentage of surveyors reporting house price increases versus declines in their designated areas. A level above zero indicates more surveyors reported a rise in prices, while a reading below zero indicates more reported a fall. And if we go to the latest data from July, we are at negative 53%. And that is lower than anything we've seen over the past year or so, since really this crash started back at the end of summer last year, early autumn last year. So this is the most negative they've been so far. And if we go back, the last time we saw things this low, even during COVID, things weren't this low. We have to go all the way back, basically to the financial crisis. The global financial crisis was where things got this low. So if history is anything to go by, the last time we were this low, we saw substantial corrections or crashes, whatever you want to call it, in the UK housing market. Now, if you are anything like me, you might be looking at this going, yeah, that makes complete sense to me. But then you go over to Rightmove and see that Rightmove new listings are still up 0.5% year on year. So what are sellers playing at when this is clearly what is happening in the market? The RICS survey is actually one of the best surveys, as it's one of the most up to date, and it's also pretty much whole of market. Whereas Halixfax and Nationwide are just on the mortgages, on the deals that they take part in. And Rightmove is just asking prices. So RICS is the surveyors that go out and value these homes. So really it's more of a whole of market approach, probably the most recent data we can get, even if it's not so much a house price index as it is an indicator. So if these guys are saying things aren't looking good, we need to heed that warning. But sellers still don't seem to be getting the message, despite months of negative headlines in the news about mortgage rates going up, etc., and there being a house price crash. New listings are still up on where they were year on year. Now, they might come down or level off over the next month, who knows? But at the moment, there still seems to be this optimism or denial in the market that house prices are indeed going to come down steeply. So what is happening? Well, I think there's two things to think about when you see what is happening in the market at the moment. Number one, you have to accept that people like myself and the people watching this video, so people like you that are taking time to do your own research and trying to get a kind of an understanding of the whole market, whether that's good or bad, whichever way you see it, you are in the minority. You are doing your own research, you're learning, you're finding out information that the average person isn't making decisions based on. The average person is making decisions based on so little information and ignorance and denial, whatever you want to call it. So we have to accept we're in the minority. Not everyone works like us. Not everyone is thinking like us. And then you have to think about the person that is deciding what price to put the house on the market at, the journey that they are going through. So maybe they've heard through seeing some headlines on the Sun or the Daily Mail, or maybe they've read something on Facebook, the house prices might be falling, and they're thinking about selling the house. So what's the first thing they're going to do if they do want to sell the house? They're probably going to contact 2 or 3 of their local estate agents. Now, there are some good estate agents out there, few and far between, but the vast majority of people will just be getting some of the biggest estate agents, the biggest local estate agents to come out and value their house. Now, most big estate agents, they're going to be more focused on trying to secure the listing than they are on offering an accurate house price. So if you're going out and your job is to win new instructions for your estate agency, you're going to be trying to paint the market in the most positive picture possible. And if you can go to them and say, look, Rightmove is still showing that house prices are up year on year, without explaining to them this is just asking prices, or even if you quote the latest data from Halixfax, which I think is down less than 3% year on year, you can still say to them that the market's doing okay, and it does seem quite resilient on paper. So you can then understand why when they say, look, let's maybe list your price on what houses were selling for a year ago, they agree and think it's a good idea, because at the moment, the cold hard stats don't back up the fact that house prices are probably falling quite substantially, even though it doesn't appear to be the case in the latest stats from Nationwide and Halixfax and obviously the Land Registry, because they lag so far behind. So that's the journey that person goes through. They get 2 or 3 prices or 2 or 3 suggestions for asking prices. And it's very unlikely they're going to go with the person that's telling them to put it on a lower, more realistic price. So that's why we're seeing this big disparity between what's actually happening in the market and what is going on with new listings. Now, you only need to go on to Rightmove yourself, and in the majority of areas, all you'll see, if you sort it by newly listed, you're just going to see reduction after reduction after reduction. Most of the areas that I look at, there are more reductions than there are new listings on a daily basis, which shows that people are listing at the incorrect prices. So we still have this big gulf between reality and what people want to believe isn't happening, and they're still listing at high prices. And we just have to be patient while this flushes out. And this isn't helped by the mainstream media basically flip-flopping on whether mortgage rates are skyrocketing and it's terrible, or mortgage rates are coming down sharply and everything's going to be fine, based on what's happened with the inflation data over the most recent month. So 2 months ago, when the inflation data was bad and it wasn't coming down as quickly as possible, mainstream media went crazy and everything sounded like the end of the world, and mortgage rates and swap rates shot up. And last month, things were a little bit better than expected, just a tiny fraction better than expected. And all of a sudden, mortgage rates are coming down. It's been reported that everything's going to be fine and the house prices are stabilizing. And actually, this is going to change on a monthly basis for the next 6 to 12 months at least. It all depends whether inflation data comes in above or below expectations, how the market reacts, and then how the swap rates react and how that filters through to mortgage rates. So if we take a look at this this chart here, let me zoom this back out again. We can see that all this latest positive news we've been seeing is because mortgage rates have been coming down. Look, this looks like quite a sizable drop. And then you put it into perspective and go back and go, actually, this is where we really are. If you look over the past couple of years, is that really that positive that we've just come off this spike here, which was caused by the inflation data from 2 months ago, and this small pullback here has been caused by slightly positive inflation data from a month ago. So what's going to happen with this month's data? We don't know. We don't know what the data is going to say, but we can see the overall trend is still very much up. So anything you read in the news at the moment about mortgage rates continuing to go up or continuing to come down, we just don't know what's going to happen, because it's all going to be based on what happens with inflation data over the next few months. So that's where we are in the market. We've got this gulf in what is actually happening versus what sellers hope isn't happening. And I'm trying not to blame sellers. Most of them aren't taking the time to do their own research. They're trusting estate agents, which sounds like a crazy thing to do, but a lot of people do. You'd hope that they would be giving them good information, but we know that isn't the case, and that's why we're seeing unrealistic asking prices. So hopefully you guys found this helpful. If you want to see how far I think house prices are going to fall, I'm going to pop up a video in front of me now, and I'll see you guys over there.